In this problem, we are to read each story, write a symbolic expression that represents the problem, and then finally put the calculated amount in this space here. We are to place all negative numbers in the symbolic form, that's this one, in parentheses. It is not necessary to do so in the calculated amount. You can use an asterisk, which is Shift 8 on your keyboard for multiplication, and a division symbol that looks like this on your keyboard for division. So for example, we have Gilbert competed in the fishing competition last year and was able to catch 7 fish. So we write the number 7 down. This year he caught 3 times what he caught last year, so you could either multiply on the right by 3 or the left, showing that he caught 3 times the amount of fish this year relative to last year, plus an additional 2. The question is, how many fish did Gilbert catch this year? So he caught 7 fish last year, and then this year he caught 3 times that of which he caught last year, plus an additional 2. So this would be the symbolic expression that represents this problem, and you would use an asterisk on your keyboard, which is Shift 8, to get a multiplication symbol. Now the calculated amount would be that multiplication comes before addition. 7 times 3 is 21, which makes sense because if he caught 7 fish last year and this year he caught 3 times that many, he would have caught 21, but then it said plus an additional 2, and 21 plus 2 is 23, so you'd be typing 23 in the answer box where it says calculated amount. In this problem we have Fernando flying a kite. It was 100 feet in the air. So here's Fernando, and here's his kite, and it is 100 feet above the ground. So let me write the number 100. It says, but a wind pushed it down 20 feet. So if it went down 20 feet, its new height would be not 100, but 100 minus 20. And then a second gust of wind lifted the kite back up, but double the amount that the previous wind pushed it down. So if the previous wind pushed it down 20, the amount that it goes up, so I'm going to add to its height, double the amount, which is twice the amount, so 2 times, that the previous wind pushed it down. Well, the previous wind pushed it down 20. So the second gust of wind lifted the kite double the amount that the previous wind pushed it down, so that would be double the 20 feet. So this would be the symbolic expression that represents the problem. Then the calculated amount would represent how high was the kite now. So order of operations have us doing multiplication before addition and subtraction. In PEMDAS, multiplication and division come before addition and subtraction. However, you'll oftentimes see me write it where the M and the D are above one another and the A and the S are above one another, to show that sometimes division comes before multiplication and sometimes subtraction comes before addition, as those operations are performed left to right, so which one you do first depends on which one's further to the left. In this case, however, I only have one multiplication to perform. I just need to make sure that I calculate the multiplication before the addition and subtraction. So doing so, I'm going to do the multiplication first. 2 times 20 is 40. Copy the rest of the problem. And now I have subtraction and addition, and this is performed left to right. Even though PEMDAS is usually written in this way, with the A before the S, these two operations are on the same level. This is why I like to write them vertically rather than horizontally, to show that you actually perform these depending on the order in which they're written. Whatever is further to the left is done first. So I am going to do the subtraction first because the subtraction is further to the left than the addition. 100 subtract 20 is 80. I'm going to copy the 40. Finally, we add the 80 and the 40 to get the calculated amount to be 120 feet. However, in the Math AS question, you are not required to write feet, just the number 120 to represent how high the kite was after the 2 gusts of wind. If you'd like to go back to the problem, this actually makes sense because it started 100 feet above the ground. The first wind pushed it down 20, so it was at 80. Then the second wind pushed it up twice the amount that it was pushed down from the first wind, so that was up 40, so its final position should be 120 feet. In this example, we have that Desi had $80 of birthday money to spend. So let me write down 80. She spends $35, so she will have $35 less to spend. So I will take 80 and subtract the $35 that she spent. The next day, however, her grandmother sends her $55. That would give her $55 more dollars to spend. So I would add $55 to the amount she has to spend. And then the question is, how much money does she have to spend now? So this would be the symbolic expression that represents this problem, and the calculated amount would be simply to do the subtraction and then the addition. Remember that subtraction and addition are on the same level. It is performed left to right. So I will take 80, subtract 35, which gives me 45, and I will copy the rest of the problem. So she had $80, she spent $35, giving her $45, but the next day her grandmother sent $55 more. So when you add that together, 45 plus 55, you get the calculated amount for the answer to the problem, which is that she has $100 to spend now that her grandmother sent her more. This problem is a little more lengthy to read. We have that Pedro got 60 candy bars on Halloween. So I'm going to write 60, and he shared them equally with his family members, dividing it into 3 equal shares. So if you have 60 candy bars and you divide it amongst 3 people, that would be 60 divided by 3. But remember, you'll be using the symbol on your computer keyboard that looks more like this. The next day, one of his friends that doesn't like the candy bars that she got gives them to Pedro. And after she does that, he now has double what his share was the day before, after having shared them with his family. So this is the amount of money that Pedro had after dividing it into 3 equal shares. And after his friend gives him her candy bars, he will have double that. So I will have to multiply by 2. And remember, this is the same thing as this. I just wanted to remind you that when you type this answer in, you'll be using this division key on your keyboard because one does not exist that looks like this on your keyboard. Now that we took care of doubling his share the day before, the question is, how many candy bars does Pedro have now? So this is what you'll be typing in for the symbolic expression that represents the problem. To get this division symbol, locate the shift key on your keyboard. There should be 2 shift keys. I want you to look at the one on the right. If you look at the shift key on the right of your keyboard, 1 key to the left of that would be a division symbol. And then don't forget that for the multiplication, you can get the multiplication symbol by holding shift down and then pressing the number 8 on your keyboard. Then, to get the calculated amount, remember that in PEMDAS, multiplication and division are on the same level of order of operations. Whichever one is further to the left gets performed first. So even though we traditionally write PEMDAS horizontally like this, with the M before the D, these 2 operations can be switched and are done in the order they are written from left to right. And likewise, this is true for addition and subtraction as well. So you can think of it as these 2 operations can be switched depending on which way they're written, from left to right, or you can write them on top of one another to remember that they are on the same level. Either way, we have division and multiplication. We do it left to right. The division is further to the left than the multiplication symbol, so I do the division first. 60 divided by 3 is 20, which makes sense because he had 60 candy bars and he divided into 3 equal shares to share it with his family members, which gave him 20 candy bars. And the next day, his friend gave him so many candy bars that he had double what his share was the day before, and his share the day before was 20, and now he's supposed to have double that. So by copying the multiplication by 2 and performing that operation, we find that Pedro would then have 40 candy bars. So you'd be typing the number 40 in the answer box next to the words calculated amount.